You know those women who walk into a room and somehow the energy just shifts a little? They're not necessarily the loudest. They're not trying too hard, but people notice them anyway. That kind of presence has a name now. People call it girl energy. And lately I kept thinking about one woman who really embodies that vibe, Jutta Leerdam. She's an Olympic speed skater. She's confident, feminine, disciplined, and somehow she makes ambition look effortless. So it made me wonder, what actually creates that kind of confidence? And is the it girl mindset something you're born with or something you learn? To understand the mindset, you kind of have to look at the girl behind it. Because Jutta Leerdam didn't become this confident, magnetic woman overnight. She actually grew up in the Netherlands and started speed skating when she was still a kid. Like the kind of kid who already knew she wanted to be great at something. And that's something people often forget when they see successful women online. They see the highlight reel, the medals, the photo shoots, the perfect Instagram pictures. But behind that is years of discipline. Jutta became a junior world champion when she was still a teenager, which already tells you something about her mindset. She wasn't just skating for fun, she was skating to win. And if you look at her career, that theme keeps repeating. She trained obsessively. She pushed herself harder than most people around her, and eventually she became one of the best speed skaters in the world. But what makes her interesting isn't just the medals, because at the same time, she never tried to shrink herself to fit the typical serious athlete image. She shows up with makeup, she embraces fashion, she's confident about her femininity, and surprisingly, that's something people criticized her for. Some people thought she should look more serious, less glamorous, less visible. But instead of changing herself, Jutta basically did the opposite. She leaned into who she already was. And that's where the real it girl mindset begins. Because the women people remember the most usually aren't the ones trying to fit in. They're the ones who are completely comfortable standing out. So if we zoom out a little, there are actually a few psychological patterns behind the kind of confidence women like Jutta have. And once you notice them, you start seeing them everywhere. Lesson number 1, confidence comes from evidence. A lot of people try to think their way into confidence. They repeat affirmations, they try to act confident, they tell themselves they're powerful, but the brain doesn't fully believe something unless it has proof. And that's exactly what discipline gives you. Every time Jutta finishes a brutal training session, every time she pushes herself harder, every time she competes under pressure, she's collecting psychological evidence that she can handle difficult things. And your brain remembers that. That's why competence creates such stable confidence. It's not based on opinions, it's based on experience. Now, here's the second lesson. Magnetic women protect their focus. If you watch interviews with Jutta Leerdam, she often talks about staying in her bubble before competitions. That's actually a really powerful psychological strategy. Because attention is energy. And the more energy you give to other people's opinions, criticism, or expectations, the less energy you have left for your own goals. Women with strong presence tend to do something very simple. They become selective with their attention. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves emotional energy. That kind of emotional discipline creates calmness, and calmness creates presence. And then there's the third lesson. This one might be the most it girl of them all. Magnetic women allow themselves to be visible. A lot of women instinctively make themselves smaller. They tone things down. They hide their ambition. They worry about being too much. But women like Jutta do the opposite. They allow themselves to be seen, not in an attention-seeking way, but in an ownership way. They're not apologizing for their ambition. They're not apologizing for their femininity. They're not apologizing for wanting to win. And something interesting happens when a woman carries herself like that. People start taking her seriously because confidence, real confidence, always signals one thing: self-respect. And once people feel that, the way they see you starts to change. So if we put everything together, the real it girl mindset isn't about popularity or aesthetics. It's about identity. Women like Jutta Leerdam have decided who they are. they are disciplined, they invest in themselves, they respect their own ambitions. And when someone has that kind of clarity, something interesting happens. Their energy becomes very grounded. They don't need to prove themselves every 5 minutes. They're not constantly adjusting their personality to please everyone. They just move through the world with a quiet certainty. And ironically, that's exactly what makes people notice them. Because presence isn't created by trying to be impressive. It's created when someone is completely aligned with who they are. And that's probably the biggest shift you can take from this. Instead of asking, how can I impress people? Start asking, what kind of woman am I becoming? Because once that identity becomes clear, confidence stops being something you perform. It becomes something you naturally radiate. Anyway, girls, that's it for today. I feel like women like Jutta Leerdam are such a good reminder that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being comfortable with who you are and going after what you want. So if you're working on your own little glow up era right now, same. We're in this together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.